Hey, welcome back to my channel, Just Doing Great Things. Well, I'm worn out. I got home Friday evening from school and started smoking meat. I smoked 12 pork butts, Boston butts, and I smoked 6 whole chickens, and I pulled all that, and so I ended up with I believe 13 half trays of pulled pork and 2 half trays of pulled chicken. Now the reason I'm doing this is I'm feeding our faculty and staff at the school I work at. I've had the opportunity to do that for the last couple of years. This year we're doing pulled pork and pulled chicken, and it's been a lot of work, but it's well worth it when everybody gets to sit down for the only time of the year we all get to sit down, break bread together, and chat and talk and just be a staff. I just want to let a lot of people know that teachers do great things every day, and I'd like to think that I make a difference in a lot of kids' lives. And I do know that all those other teachers I work with, they do it on a regular basis, and we have the kids' needs in our hearts, and this is what we do. This is why we went into the profession. So once again, I love cooking for them, and I hope they have a good time and enjoy the food. I videoed doing some of the work and how I did it. Folks, I'm limited on the equipment I have, and this is how I did it. Would you do it different? You could do it a lot different. If you've got a lot better equipment, yeah, I definitely would do it a lot different. But that's where we sit right now, and it's done. And all I got to do is take it to school, and it'll be warmed up, and we'll feed the staff. So, hey, thank you for watching. Just Doing Great Things. All right, what we're cooking today is 12 pork butts and 6 whole chickens that are going to be spatchcocked. What I'm going to use for this is just regular butt roast and yellow mustard as a binder, and I'm going to use the Holy Gospel barbecue rub as from Meat Church Barbecue on each one of the rubs, and then when I pull it, I will sprinkle it with Jack Daniel's pork rub just to give it a little bit more flavor. All right, I'm using my drippies. This little container right here, it pops up, and it can be deep or it can be shallow. I'm using it today to keep everything contained within the drippies instead of all over the counter. Cut that plastic off, get that pork buck out of there, and I've got me a little container I put all the trash in right next to me. And there's the first pork butt. Get a little bit of mustard on top. Smear it around real good. Doesn't have to be real heavy. A little bit on the bottom. Do the same. And take that mustard that was on the top and the bottom and spread it to the sides. And then we're going to take the Holy Gospel and put a nice coating of the Holy Gospel on there. Tell you that meat church guy has a taste buds for great seasonings. Everything I've tried from him is so far has been fantastic. But you know, a lot of those guys that do barbecue on a regular basis and have got it all figured out. A lot of them guys have fantastic seasonings. Got it on the top, the bottom. Now we're working all the sides. This is going to create a real nice bark on it. You know, when he created the seasoning, I don't know if he had pork butts in mind, but it sure works. This is the second time I've used that seasoning on pork, and it's just fantastic. And we'll go to the next one. All right, today for this cook, I'm using an electric smoker. I know some people say that's cheating. Well, that's just too bad. I've got 6 pork roast in there right now. I've got it set on 275, and I'm going to use hickory chips, and we'll get this thing done, and it's going to cook overnight. All right, it's time to pull the first butt that's been done. I'll let it set for an hour in an ice chest after it got done, and I know there's probably 100,000 different ways to pull pork. This is how I do it, and you know, I'm going to take that bone out, and then I'm going to commence to going through each one of the sections, pulling it apart, and taking out anything that I think is not edible. So that's how I do it. If you do it differently, then hey, way to go. You do you, and I'll do me. I started putting in that pan. I thought, well, no, I'm going to go ahead and break it up here because this is where I'm going to put the extra seasoning, the Jack Daniel pork rub. I'm going to sprinkle it on there. I made some pulled pork for some friends at work here a while back, just testing them, and I put some of that Jack Daniels rub on the pork butt after the fact, and they said it was some of the best pulled pork they've ever eaten. So that's what I'm going to do again. Each one of these, I'm going to sprinkle a nice little dose onto the meat after it's cooked. You can tell that there's a pretty good bark on this. You know, I was pleased with how this turned out. That Holy Gospel barbecue rub really puts a nice bark on there. I took every one of these all the way up to 202 degrees and then took them out and let them rest for an hour. These gloves that I'm using, I watch Malcolm Reed from How to Barbecue Right, and he wears those liners with the black gloves, and let me tell you, they are a game changer. I have actually pulled pork and it just burnt the dog out of my hands. But this does a good job of protecting you from the heat, and you know, it keeps your hands clean. Like I said, I'm getting rid of anything that looks like I don't want to chew on it. And everything else is going right on this tray, trying to break it up in fairly small pieces. And when you do 12 of these, this is slow and tedious. It's not a whole lot of fun. But it's got to be done. That's part of pulled pork. And that bottom still has some of the fat that didn't render out that's on the bottom of a pork butt. I'm gonna get what I can off of there, and I'm going to tear these up a little bit more. Once again, constantly looking for more fat. Any gristle that might be in there. It's looking pretty good. Sure smells pretty good too. My cat decided she wanted to come in here and then decided she didn't. So there's that. All right, and like I said, this is that Jack Daniel's pork rub. I'm gonna just sprinkle it on there pretty liberally, and then I'm gonna get it and move it around, mix it up real good, make sure it's getting on all the meat. It's not just sitting in one spot. I'll sprinkle a little bit more on there, mix it around a little bit more, and then I'll call it good. Put it in the tray, and it'll be ready to put into the fridge once it cools down. I'm making this ahead of time for a function that we have a few days away, but I don't have time or the ability to do it the day before the function. So I'm going to actually end up putting it in the freezer and then thawing it out and then warming it up. Hopefully it'll maintain the quality and it'll be good to go. All right, for the second part of the cook, we've got 6 whole chickens that I'm going to spatchcock, and we're going to smoke them. And here's the age-old discussion about do you wash chicken? Do you not wash chicken? And I apologize that my arm's right there in the way, but hey, I'm trying to do work. I'm trying to battle with this thing. I'll do the best I can, but I'm going to unpackage that chicken. And I'm going to put it under the water and I'm going to wash it off. I just don't like raw chicken not to be washed. It's something about me. 100 different people can sit there and say, well, you're not supposed to wash chicken. Well, I tell you what, when I'm done washing these chickens, I'm going to wash everything there. I'm going to scrub it down and I'm going to use bleach to get the faucets, around the counters, everything, the scissors, everything's going to be washed thoroughly. So, hey, I don't know how you can cross-contaminate if nothing has contamination on it. Everything I touch, I will go back later and wash. Now, I said I was going to spatchcock these, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to cut that backbone out. And I'm going to just go right as close to the spine as I can, all the way up and all the way back. End up with that backbone. Of course, I'm going to put it in my container. And I like to wash out the inside of this because there's all kinds of stuff. And plus, if there's any bone chips from cutting that spine out, I want them cleaned out too. So I'm going to wash that out real good. And then I'm going to take this knife and I'm going to cut that breastbone so it will lay down flat. I need this to lay down flat. The whole point of spatchcocking something is so that it's all about the same level and it all cooks about the same speed. While I'm at it, I'm also going to take out any extra fat that usually you're going to find some fat around the neck or some extra skin, and I'm going to cut that off. But I'm trying to clean this up a little bit. I'm not trying to clean it up for competition, anything like that, but I am trying to clean it up so it'll be decent. I've got it all laid out, and it is ready to go and ready for seasoning. Now I've set those chickens out, and I've let them dry pretty well, but I'm going to lay down some paper towels just so they can dry a little bit more. I may dab them dry, but the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to do the inside of the chicken first. And what I'm going to do is put some, what it's called Willie's Dust. Willie's Dust. I get it from Eat My Catfish restaurant here in this area. It's Cajun seasoning. And I'm just going to put something on the inside of that, hoping that, this chicken's going to absorb it while it cooks and get some flavor into that meat on the underside. There's not a whole lot of the meat that I'm going to pull is going to come from there, but hey, maybe some flavor can get there. I want to spread these out real good. I'm going to dab that with a dry paper towel and get some more water off it and make sure the water's off of it. Some people say you can put olive oil on this and it'll crisp up that skin, but I'm going to get rid of the skin anyhow. And that's one thing. After the fact, first of all, I'm going to use, it is Heath Ryle's Barbecue and Grilling Cajun Creole Garlic Butter Seasoning, and I'm going to sprinkle it on there real good. Now, I wish that I would have got some underneath the skin. That probably would have been a lot better. That skin is going to keep, it's going to protect it from getting dry, but it's also going to keep the seasoning from getting to it too well. And after I get 3 of them done, I put them in the electric smoker, put them on 250, and I'm going to go 250 for a while, and for about 45 minutes, and then I'm going to take them off and go to the next step. All right, for the next step, I've got my pellet smoker, my Pit Boss pellet smoker, cranked up to about 425. 425, I forget what it is, but I want it hot, and I'm going to take these spatchcock chickens and I'm going to put them on here, and I'm going to finish them off right here. I'll put a probe in them, and I'll also check the temperature before I take them off, but I'm going to try to get these just about 165, 170. I like to make sure that the chicken is done. And I've got them spaced out there, and that thing is smoking hot and it's ready to roll. So we're gonna cook them until they reach 170, 175, and we'll be done. All right, now it's time to pull this chicken. I think it turned out looking pretty good. I'm gonna start by, of course, taking it apart to a certain degree. Don't need the skin, so I'm going to take the skin off of there. Take the leg thigh quarters off of there. Go ahead and take the wings off. I won't be using the wings. I kind of ate them myself. Just set them off to the side, and they made a little tasty snack. And then I'm just going to start pulling this chicken apart. Being careful not to get anything that nobody wants to eat. Just carefully disassemble the thigh, then the leg. Anything that I think I don't want to eat, I don't want to chew on, I throw it over in that pan over there and get rid of it. At the end of each chunk of this leg, of course, is a tendon, and you got to make sure you take those off. Don't want to chew on them. Now these chickens aren't real big, so there's just not a ton of meat off of each one of them, but I'm going to try to knock it down to smaller pieces. Now I'm going with the second leg thigh quarter. I'm just pulling it apart. Once again, these gloves are a lifesaver, folks. I guarantee you. I will definitely order some more of these. I think they come from Oklahoma Joe. I got them in a barbecue box that I got for Christmas. A barbecue box, meaning it's a series of boxes that come to you for like 3 months, and they have different things in them: rubs, gloves, bottles, different seasonings, and a recipe for each one of them. It's kind of cool. I really enjoyed it. Now it's time for the white meat. I'm going to take that skin off, toss it to the side. Any fat, any stuff I don't want to chew on goes with it. Thing about breasts, you just take big old chunks off of them and just start busting up and smaller pieces. Now I don't know how anybody else would do this, but hey, this is how I do it, and I guess we can all do it the same way, or we can all do it different, just as long as it gets done and people can eat. Breaking it down into smaller pieces. It's going to make a mighty fine sandwich, I can tell you that much. Now I'd put that Heath Riles Cajun Creole garlic butter seasoning on there before the cook, but I'm also going to sprinkle some more of that on there after I get this all broken up. We're going to sprinkle some more of that on there, and I'm telling you, folks, the smell of that. Heath needs to be patted on the back. He made a great rub, great seasoning, and I'm going to sprinkle a little bit more on top of this after it's cooked, just to give it a little more flavor. I bet I get a compliment or two on it, and it'll be because of his seasoning, not because of my skills. That's not a whole lot of chicken out of one whole chicken, but folks, I'm doing this for the people that can't eat pork or won't eat pork for whatever reason. I'm just trying to be thoughtful. So I'm going to sprinkle some more of this on there, and I'm going to mix it up real good with my hands. And as soon as I started sprinkling on that hot chicken, man, you go, wow, that smells good. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to put that into a pan, and it's going to be ready to eat, folks.